Welcome back to another episode of Not So Radical. I'm your host, Peter, and today we're talking about the Colorado hate crime explained. Now, we're going to start off with this clip from Steven Crowder. I also have pulled up his site, Louder with Crowder, where he posts his sources and stuff and information he finds about these videos before he puts them up to protect himself from the oh-so-factual fact-checkers. But let's start off with this video over here on the left.
Let me just move on with this because I have to... No known motive. Okay, well, here's what we do know so far that they have not covered in the media. Ahmad al-Alawi al-Issa, what's his name? Say that 5 times.
Hey, that's a good
Say
job.
that 5 times while blowing something up.
Too. Yeah. Wow.
He's a Syrian-born immigrant and devout.
Now, court records show he was born in Syria in 1999, so he's of Syrian descent. His Facebook page also backed up his age along with his name, among other things that we point out in this video. When he was a senior at Arvada West High School, he was convicted in 2018 of a misdemeanor assault against another student in a classroom. He told police it was in relation to insults and ethnic taunts, apparently. Other fellow students recall him having a fierce temper and would flare in response to setbacks or slights. So it seems like was already a little unhinged. Maybe he was bullied a bit in school. Maybe he wasn't. I mean, I can't fact check that, but that's just what we know.
Muslim with a
And this is also from the New York Times.
history of violent and angry behavior. Every single one of the victims were white.
All the victims were white, and they're not calling this a hate crime. Although all the victims were white, and you have Atlanta where the guy said he had a sex addiction. That's why he went to the massage parlors where he used to get his rocks off, and instantly labeled a hate crime, white people bad, white people commit mass shootings, blah, 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 anti-white rhetoric.
Could be an albino in there. I don't know. I don't care.
Who knows?
The FBI already had their eye on him, and here's some of his Facebook posts. Trump...
Just like many of these mass shooters, somehow they get their hands on a gun. Even though the FBI is already have these people on their watch list. So there's a problem in the system. Somehow these people are getting passed and people aren't properly doing their jobs. But let's look at some of these Facebook posts from his Facebook page before it was removed only hours after the shooting.
Trump inherited, I'll just do the accent because people are already going to be coming up. Trump inherited a growing economy and the unemployment rate was low. The economy was on an upward spiral and he won because of what? Racism. And then here's another quote. If these racist Islamophobic people would stop hacking my phone and let me have a normal life. He believed that people were
So he already fed in this, hey, Trump's a racist. I mean, for 4 years that Trump was in office, they painted Trump as a racist, all his followers as racist, even though Trump did many, many things to help all Americans of all backgrounds, races, religions. But the liberal media paints white guy bad, Trump bad, racist, xenophobic, blah, blah, blah. And so you already paint this narrative. And this is what I'm talking about when it pushes this divide between everybody, whether you're a white, black, Asian, Latino, does not matter. The liberal left media pushes this narrative and only divides us even further, which is, it's dangerous because stuff like this happens in response to that, thinking that, oh, white people are bad. And here's some of the information where he got the sources from. Washington Post, they say all the time, racist white men are, everybody always assumes that it's always a racist white man when it comes to a mass shooting, even though it isn't always true. Immediately after the shooting, Obama and Rashida Tlaib, also on Twitter, jumped on the, racist white shooter narrative, like many other people. And like I said, a lot of news outlets, you knew the color of the guy's skin by them not saying white shooter, et cetera, right after it happened. I mean, me and some friends of mine, we were like already like, no, if it was a white guy, they'd have already blown that shit up. But like the Georgia shooter, even though he said it was because of a sex addiction, he didn't say it was because they were Asian. He doesn't have a history of Facebook posts or anything that says anti-Asian, et cetera, et cetera. He's more than likely getting hand jobs from these Asian women that were murdered, unfortunately. All his victims were white, the source Twitter. He was a Syrian-born immigrant, devout Muslim with a history of violent and angry behavior, like we saw in the video clip, and that was from the New York Times. We showed you some of the Facebook posts. They were sourced from Twitter and his Facebook. The FBI already had an eye on him. their intern at Steven Crowder's office actually was looking up his page and pulling those Facebook posts, and he was actually reported for suspicious activity, and his account was actually locked for trying to find information about the shooter. So, I mean, it's typical liberal left media censoring and protecting the narrative that I guess I shouldn't say protecting the narrative, but protecting minorities from the narrative that they could be mass shooters or they could be perpetrators of violent crimes. But if it's a white guy, liberal left has no problem blowing it up. Anti-white, no, we have to ban guns, we have to take guns, etc., etc. And like I said, this narrative, it only pushes people further apart. And all I want is fair and honest media. If you're going to call the Georgia incident a hate crime right off the bat, why aren't you calling this a hate crime right off the bat when all of his victims were white? He has a history of anti-white rhetoric. Trump is bad, this, and that. And he even thought that people were tapping his phone and because they were racist, and people were already hacking his phone, and among many other things. So he already had this paranoia going on, besides being on the FBI's watch list already, and somehow still being able to buy a gun, which is beyond asinine. But this anti-white rhetoric needs to stop. We need to just start labeling, hey, mass shootings are bad. This person perpetrated, that person perpetrated, instead of trying to put a race, color, sex, religion on it. And we need to stop dividing people and pushing people apart, and we need to start coming together, because that's the only way we're going to be able to fix things like this and help stop them from happening. Unfortunately, there's always going to be bad people out there, but we can lessen it, and we can put a dent in reversing this kind of ideology. And I hope we can before it's too far gone. But that's going to be it for today. Don't forget to like and subscribe, comment, let me know what you liked about the video, what you didn't like, whether you agree, don't agree, etc. But all of you, I hope you guys have a nice weekend, and stay safe out there.